What is up, my friends? Welcome to John Smoltz Day here on Flippin' Bats, where it's World Series preview time. John Smoltz joins us every single week, no matter where he is, no matter what he's doing, and we've made it to the World Series where he will be on the call. So we're going to talk all through this series with him, what he's most excited about, how each team wins this series, what happens with Bichette, how is Bichette going to be used, how do we see Max Scherzer perform, is he able to replicate what he did in the ALCS, where he screamed at his manager John Schneider when he was taking him out of the game, which leads to a hilarious conversation of, did you ever yell at a manager that came to take you out of a game, and what's the worst thing you ever did with Bobby Cox coming out there to grab you. Really fun conversation here. I am officially in Toronto, which I have learned to pronounce Toronto. You don't pronounce the second T. Who knew? But I've learned that the people here are incredible. My about 12 hours here has been great. I love it here. And we're on hotel Wi-Fi, so hopefully this quality turns out decent. Probably not. It'll probably look like a potato. But we're here creating content with the Hall of Famer John Smoltz because it is World Series time. I'm excited for this conversation. I hope you all are as well. Today, Thursday, here at the World Series is Media Day, so I will be at the stadium for the first time. Media Day, talking to players. So much content coming out on my social medias and Flippin' Bats over the next week or so. I'm really excited, pumped to have on Smoltz. Hope you all appreciate this as well. I did my full World Series preview yesterday. So if you haven't listened to that, go check out my full World Series preview, team by team, strength, weaknesses, X factor, who I think wins, and how many games, all of that. Really had a fun, long episode about this entire World Series preview. Now we're going to do it with John Smoltz, his thoughts on this. So make sure you subscribe our YouTube channel, Flippin' Bats Pod. You can watch everything, leave a comment, subscribe. All that really does help. And John Smoltz joins us every single week. So let's preview this World Series. Toronto Blue Jays, Los Angeles Dodgers. And to talk us through it is the guy on the call. Let's welcome in now the Hall of Famer, John Smoltz. All right, and I am pumped now to be joined, as we are every single week, by the Hall of Famer, John Smoltz. John, it's World Series week. I'm here in Toronto. It's go time. We have Blue Jays and we have the Dodgers. How we doing?
You're going to find out that that city is on fire and the noise will be unlike any other noise you've heard in a stadium before.
Wow. So you were on the call for the ALCS, obviously, the whole time it went to a game 7. And that's your takeaway, is the stadium was louder than you've ever heard before?
Yeah, no, it's insane. I mean, the crowd that with the dome being closed and everything at stake with them having that incredible game 7, you're going to see a crowd that not only believes in their team, but believes they have a chance to win the World Series, which I would think most people have kind of counted them out as far as, obviously who's favored. It's going to be the Dodgers, but it's going to be a really good series, better than people think. And Toronto, they waited a long time, 30-some years. They've had experiencing championship in 1992 and 93, and I think this is different. It's a whole different generation of fans that is looking forward to doing something epic. And I would think that they would believe what better team to do it against than the defending champs, Los Angeles Dodgers.
I'm excited about this series. I think you have two pretty contrasting styles. I like the way the Blue Jays have been playing. They're hot. The Dodgers are obviously very good. So what are you personally most excited about with this series?
Yeah, it's that pitching dominance that we saw the Dodgers display. Now they've got a big break, and I'm interested to see how the break affects not so much the pitching, but the hitting for the Dodgers. And you've got a contact-oriented offense for the Toronto Blue Jays. I would expect more scoring in this series than we've seen the Dodgers and the rest of the league play against them. I just think that it's going to be hard to duplicate what the Dodgers starters did in the previous 2 series. If they do, obviously they're going to win.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a no-brainer. But I just think that the Toronto Blue Jays handling the strike zone, not swinging and missing a lot against elite pitching is going to be absolutely fascinating to watch. And it's going to be interesting to see how, on the flip side, the Dodgers come out offensively against what you would consider not a fatigued pitching line, a staff, but a staff that's had to be pushed to the brink.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to ask you the same question two different ways. The first is the Toronto Blue Jays will win the World Series
If they strike out five, six, or less, if they don't strike out that much, I think that that's the recipe for them to win.
Okay.
That forces the action for Dave Roberts to make decisions that he didn't have to make in the previous series and trust a bullpen that he may not have full trust in. That doesn't mean it won't work for the Dodgers. It just means that's kind of the narrative. If you think that the Blue Jays have a chance to win, it's going to be because they stay hot offensively, they move runners around, they get them in when they have to, and they kind of upset the apple cart that's been so good for the Dodgers thus far.
The Los Angeles Dodgers will win the World Series
If they stay to their formula and they're dominant in every fashion, offensively they hit homers, and for the pitching side they go deep in the game. If they limit the exposure to their bullpen, it is going to be hard to beat the Dodgers. It's that much of a dominance that we've seen, and we haven't seen in a long time in any playoff run by a lot of teams. Maybe going all the way back to the was it 2000 White Sox? Whenever they beat the Astros when their starters basically dominated in a four nothing sweep, and we haven't seen anything quite like that since.
What we look throughout the playoffs and we've said, okay, the big weakness for the Dodgers is their bullpen. Get to the bullpen. And then Roki Sasaki has kind of changed that for them because they've allowed their starters to go 7, 8 innings and then literally hand the ball to Roki, who's been good back there. And on the other side for the teams they've been playing, it's that their bullpen is better. You just have to get into the Dodgers bullpen. I'm not so sure about that now. I'm not so sure the Blue Jays bullpen is better than the Dodgers bullpen. So my question to you about the Blue Jays bullpen is how, after watching them for 7 games in the ALCS, what bullpen arms do you think they can utilize to get guys like Shohei Ohtani and Freddie Freeman out? They don't have those big, good lefty arms back there to get the superstars out. So who do you think they should turn to get those guys?
Yeah, I think they're better bulk, meaning they've got options than the Dodgers do. I don't know, like you said. I mean, on paper they're probably a little bit better just because they have more depth. And I also think they ran into an issue where some of the guys' experience is different now. They made it through, and it gives you a reprieve. I think Dominguez has the ability to get left-handers out with his split. I also think Hoffman does. Fluharty. I mean, they have some young left-handers who went through the moments that didn't maybe come out great, but I think they can learn from it. But yeah, this is the moment in the postseason when guys don't perform well or have a shocking performance. You may not go to them, but I think John Schneider is going to be given credit and fault for the same thing. And it's not really fair, but he trusts his guys and he's going to go to his guys. Yeah. So by trusting his guys, he needs them to be successful. If they are not, that's going to be the one thing managers fear every single time they have to go to a guy that they say in theory they trust, but they didn't get it done.
Well, this series is set up for John Schneider to get more flack from people than Dave Roberts, simply because Dave Roberts, we've seen him in this postseason, John. We've seen him sitting on the dugout bench, not even up top, just letting his starters go. And on the other side of things, I don't think John Schneider is going to give his starting pitchers the leeway that Dave Roberts is able to give. So naturally, that's going to start in game one when you turn to your bullpen probably early, and then we're off and running from there. But I do think John Schneider's done a good job so far. I think in the ALCS, there were moves that obviously in hindsight you can point to from either direction, but I thought John Schneider did a good job.
I'll tell you what, he did a good job, and he would have had to answer questions in game 7 again if guys didn't perform. But man, he pulled the right decisions when you think about how that game unfolded and obviously how they won, and then Hoffman strikes out the side. It was an incredible game seven, and John Schneider benefited from some of that patience and trust. But it can go either way, and that's the part of the job that is so miserably magnified,
Yeah.
and obviously Seattle's got to deal with that for a long off season and how it went down and all the things that didn't go right. So, baseball's cruel. When you lose late, it hurts more. When you lose early, we're never talking about the team that got out in the first round. We're not talking about the Tigers or the Phillies or the longer you go and more painful the losses are. Trust me, I know very well how that shakes out in an off season that is just it just makes your stomach turn.
Well, I heard you talking about, I think it was about Cal Raleigh afterwards. We were talking last week about Cal Raleigh and the year he's had and an MVP type of year. And I think we're both on the same wavelength there with Cal as MVP. But, here you are. Now you lose in a game seven. And I think it was your 91 year that you referenced. But you said, look, the greatest year I've had personally was the most heartbreaking loss. So you don't look back on that year fondly at all?
No, it was not. It was 1996. I won
Yeah.
24 games in the regular season, four going into the postseason in Game Five. And you're talking about, I mean, it's the most complete year I could possibly have. And the only loss I get is game five on an unearned run. So I finished the year basically with 30 wins and it's empty. It was as completely empty as I've ever felt because of the way we lost the World Series. And, I mean, had we lost in the first round, probably not as devastating. And maybe you reflect more on the year, but I've said it then, I say it now. I'd trade those wins in a heartbeat for another World Series championship because of obviously how our track record has gone.
Yeah. John, what is the deal with Bo Bichette? From you being there during the ALCS, talking to people, we now hear, okay, he says he's going to be ready. What does that mean? How ready is he? And how do you think Bo Bichette is going to be utilized in the World Series?
Yeah, that is a $1 million question. And you think about his bat. I mean, he could be a weapon off the bench if his legs are not ready to play shortstop. The biggest thing and the biggest problem is they've got Springer as a DH, right? And he's got a bum knee. Don't know that you can put him in the outfield and DH Bichette. That's one thing certain people say, well, why don't you just DH him if you're worried about his knee, his legs? I don't know if that's a great option. And I don't know if you can trust him at shortstop, being the fact that mobility may not be what you want it to be. So it's going to be interesting to see the dynamics. But if nothing else, having him a bat off the bench would be incredible. If that's the very
Yeah.
least he can do.
Yeah. Last one for you. Do you think Max Scherzer can replicate what we saw from him in the ALCS? He's in his 40s at this point. Mad Max was mad. He was in vintage form during the ALCS. What did you see from him in that game? And did you like what you saw enough to think he can do it against the Los Angeles Dodgers team in the World Series?
The way I saw it, he was healthy and he could finish his pitches. And if he could finish his pitches, then the biggest thing that I can see out of Max is, yes, he can give a performance, maybe not quite to the same degree he did against Seattle, but that gives the depth would lend a long series. Look, I think everybody might feel uh, that if this series is going to be won by Toronto, it's going to be a lengthy series, possibly. And I don't know if they can sustain being able to turn guys around and short rest and maximize without using Mad Max. And by the way, I think it would be impossible to not use him just based on his own feeling and the way that he would tell his manager, I'm out there no matter what you say. I think he's going to be primed and ready. But yes, I think he's healthy enough. He showed me that the finish on his pitches was good, very, and matter of fact, back to the vintage Max and the ability to kind of change eye levels north and south. And he'll have to do that a lot against the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Did you ever have a situation where manager comes out to get you and I feel like I know this answer, but you're just screaming at him saying, no, I'm not coming out of this game?
No, I never did. I
It's not
played
in
for
your
a
nature
manager my whole
exactly.
life, so we kind of understood. No, it's not. The one thing I did that I never did again is when I was struggling in 91, I flipped him the ball when he came out. I was 2-11 in the first half, and I know he was ticked, and I just didn't realize in the moment what I had done. And Leo reminded me, did you flip him the ball? And I said, I don't remember. He goes, don't ever flip him the ball again. I said, I won't ever flip him the ball
Did he
again.
say anything to you after the game, or just Leo's the only one that
He
says it?
never did. I know he talked to Leo, I think, about it, and it was never an issue. And obviously I was having the worst year of my life, but um we didn't really have a moment or two ever in 21 years. Uh that's what made it so special. But I can't imagine in 1991 there were things I would have loved to said in the eighth inning and a 0-0 game came out to get me against Kirby Puckett. I was in kind of shock because I knew I could get Kirby Puckett out, but then I realized what he was doing, and I was on short rest. So it all it all at the moment your brain's going a million miles a minute. I would say Mad Max is going about 2 million, 10 million miles in a second. And that's just a persona and the attitude he had that got him through that game. And obviously they won.
Well, John, I always appreciate the time, my friend. It is World Series time. Safe travels up here to Toronto, and we'll do it again at some point during the series.
Absolutely. Look forward to it.
All right, just wanted to again thank John Smoltz for joining us. He is about to head up here to Toronto, and I cannot wait for this World Series. I really do think this is going to be an awesome matchup. I'm excited to be here. John Smoltz said this is the loudest place he's ever heard. That's pretty high praise. He also said he one time flipped the ball to Bobby Cox, and that's pretty hysterical to think about. Oh man, I can't wait for this. Again, if you haven't yet checked it out, my full World Series preview came out on Wednesday. Go check it out. My full prediction, who wins and in how many games is there, and how each team can possibly win this World Series. Kind of like what I did there with John Smoltz. Really fun conversation. Always appreciate John for joining us here, no matter where he is, no matter what he's doing. And now we're here. It's World Series time. First game, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you check out Flippin' Bats on all social media. My social media and Flippin' Bats will be going crazy during this World Series. And we'll come out with multiple episodes throughout. I'll be recording some on the field. This is going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for this World Series. I hope you guys are as up as I am. Please, if you're watching this video, make sure you subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment on YouTube. It does really help. Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen, check it out there. All social media at Flippin' Bats Pod everywhere. It's media day here at the World Series. I am out. I'm going to the field. I'm going to get a bunch of content, and you're going to see it all over socials. It's go time, baby. Thanks again to John Smoltz. I appreciate you all. And remember, until next time, my friends, find your bat.